After a 4-month break, the cars and stars of the American Le Mans Series are ready to return to action in North America at one of the most picturesque permanent road courses anywhere. We're at Sears Point Raceway in historic Sonoma, California.
Audi is the dominant force in the prototype class of the American Le Mans Series. They have been for a year and more, but there's a new twist this weekend at Sears Point. The champion Audi from Pompano Beach in Florida, featuring 2 former Le Mans, Sebring and Daytona winners. I'm with Johnny Herbert. Johnny, you're not starting the car, but this is a great chance for you to take on the factory Audi on equal terms.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they definitely need it taken too, and I think as time goes by, we'll be able to put it to them. And it's good for me and Andy to get together with champion Audi. And I think it's going to be really enjoyable, and I think we're going to have some good fun and some good races.
Factory cars versus the privateer teams here in the prototype class. The same thing happening in the GT end of the field. Calvin Fish has more.
Well, that's right, Martin. As Rick and Bill alluded to, there are now 4 of these V8-powered BMWs in the field, and that's double the trouble for the Porsche camp. They're still up in arms that this V8-powered BMW can even run in the GT category, but they are here in force. In fact, they qualified 1 through 4. The Schnitzer Michelin-shod cars qualified on the pole with Dirk Muller behind the wheel, and then the PTG cars are here with the Yokohama tires.
On the pole, the Audi, the number 1. Dindo Capello will drive that car, and alongside the 2-car, Frank Biela will start the other factory Audi. Second row includes Andy Wallace in the champion Audi. He qualified the 38 car, and David Brabham will line up alongside of him in the Panos Roadster that's coming back, the LMP1 from a year ago. In GTS, it's Terry Borchler from Phoenix in the Celine S7R. Fifth row looks like this. The only LMP 675 in the field from Dick Barber Racing. John Graham, the Canadian, qualifying that car 9th. And on the pole in GT, starting in the 10th spot in the 3 car. Actually, the GT pole sitter starts 12th. Big crowd on hand here at Sears Point. Glad you're with us on NBC Sports, and we are underway.
Look at the phenomenal start there by the Panos. That is simply the torque, the horsepower of the big block motor there, blew by the champion Audi. So we have Yost cars 1, 2, Panos 3rd, champion 4th right now.
Up through the back part of the racetrack here at Sears Point, heading toward the carousel, turns 3 and 3A, and then a right-hander 4. 5 is a right-hander, and that sweeping left, the carousel, one of the most challenging parts of this racetrack. You really have to build up speed there.
It's a track that does require a lot of rhythm, because if you really mess up on one corner, it's going to follow up the next corner, and perhaps at the 3rd one in the chain the same way. You have to get the rhythm established. And right now, all of these drivers have to be relatively careful because they're really carrying a lot of speed on somewhat cold tires. The tires won't give proper grip until about the 3rd lap out, so they have to be cautious.
Should be a battle we'll watch all day long. The 4 factory BMWs with those new V8 motors up front. It's the 2 Audis. The 1 car, Dindo Capello at the wheel in the opening stint. Frank Biela will open in the 2 car, and he rides 2nd right now. And here's David Brabham in that Panos. And we talked about it just ever so briefly, Bill. They brought that Panos car out of mothballs.
It's a great story. That they did try to develop a new car and a new motor package that simply did not work. And now they brought this old car back out, and David has been smiling throughout practice, qualifying here. The car is still fast. This is a year-old race car. It is still a blindingly quick car.
Frank Lagorce there in the 2nd Panos, the 51 machine. He sits in 6th position right now. Behind the number 7, Christophe Tinso starting the Cadillac today.
And good to see the Cadillac doing well, too. They, too, have been going through this long development process, and somewhat frustrating. You always want a race car to come right out of the box and be a strong performer. The Cadillac hasn't had that. They've had chassis problems, no motor problems, however. The North Star engine has really proven to be very strong and very reliable.
But there was a moment. Christophe Tinso was not driving. His teammate Collard was in the car during the morning warm-up today. Bill, you and I were standing atop the hill watching the practice. This was Collard having spun the car out of the carousel and backing it into a barrier.
And you see the massive damage on that right rear corner. The wheel is just folded almost up. Look at how bad this is. This is just terrible. We thought the car literally was written off. Absolute
no backup car.
Marks for the crew. Boy, what a job they did.
There are your 2 leaders, the 2 factory Audis, Dindo Capello in the number 1. Frank Biela starting in the 2 car. They've been nose to tail, Bill, since the drop of the green today.
And they are doing what they have done. We've seen them do this for the last year. They are such a strong team. Brabham and Wallace have been running laps about a 2nd a lap slower. For new viewers, a 2nd lap doesn't sound like much, but when you start adding it up, and if you get caught in the wrong place at the wrong time, the lead just grows so fast. That's what's happened. They now have about a 16-second lead
Meantime, let's take a look at the battle in GTS, the big boomers, the closed cars. Terry Borchler starting in the brand new Celine Franz Conrad's 26 machine, the black car you see here. The battle will be between this car and the two factory Corvette GTS.
And I think that Celine, that just might be one of the prettiest street cars in the world. Gee, it's just a beautiful car. This particular race car really has come on the scene this year and been so dominant.
And the Corvette's certainly not up to the pace of the Celine here in the early going.
Now, although what they might be doing is maybe playing a bit of a waiting game right now. And Ron Fellows, I think, is having a dream season that any driver would like by winning the Daytona 24, by winning the class at Le Mans. It's just, he's having an incredible year.
Look at this, Bill. One of the two Panos is the number 51 car, Frank Lagorce, up in 5th overall. Dead in the water.
Oh, no. Well, they did have a gearbox problem in qualifying, and Frank really had been so pleased with the car for such a long time. They ran very, very fast laps. Suddenly had this mysterious failure. And, well, of course, he's still moving.
Let's check in on that battle, though, for GT dominance. The 4 factory-prepared BMWs that we talked about at the top of the broadcast. Well, Bill Oberlin's at the head of the class by a good bit over Dirk Mueller and J.J. Leto. This is one of Tom Milner's PTG cars, so not a factory-run team.
Now, right now, they're winning the battle of egos between the 4 BMW cars.
As we take a look at your GT class points in the American Le Mans Series, brought to you by BMW. Sasha Maassen and Lucas Lohr, Randy Popes, those are Porsche-mounted drivers. And Boris Sett and Hans Stuck tied for 5th. They're a couple of the BMW pilots, and they drive for Tom Milner's Prototype Technologies team. Now let's take a look at the GTS machines doing battle at the front. Ron Fellows was 3.5 seconds behind Terry Borchler in the Celine. Look at this, he's right up under his wing.
Yeah, we had talked about Ron Fellows being patient, and I think this has paid off for him. Now, 2 differences here. The Celine itself, they are both on Goodyear tires, but the Celine started on a medium compound.
Fellows alongside, going down into turn 7, trying for the lead in GTS. He won't get there.
Well, I thought what he's trying to do is maybe bait him, because if he could make the Celine go in deep enough, by Ron getting a little bit different line into the corner, he may have had a shot off. That didn't happen. But to finish what I was saying, the Celine is on a medium compound. The Corvette team chose to go on a harder compound. What that means is that the medium might have more grip initially, but the hard compound, like anything else, it's going to last longer. But boy, this might be a pass. Fellows got a great run off the corner that time.
Heading up the short straightaway again toward turn 7 on the outside. Fellows in the yellow Corvette. Borchler manages to hang on.
How deep can you go?
That Celine turns in so well.
It did. That was beautiful. And look at the stretch that he just made coming off the corner.
We've had a cycle of pit stops, not quite to halfway today. And here's how things stack up right now. Emmanuel Pirot in the 2 car for the Audi team is out in front. Tom Christensen has just taken over the number 1 machine that led early from Dindo Capello. He has fallen back off of those pit stops to 2nd. David Brabham, Jan Magnussen still 3rd in their Panos machine. Andy Wallace, Johnny Herbert sit 4th in the champion Audi. First in the 2 car. They were 2nd, but they got around the 1 coming onto pit road. An interesting bit of strategy and a move made there by the driver of the 2 car. The Corvette 3 car, Fellows came in, handed off to Johnny O'Connell. Smooth pit stop, but the swap for the Celine, putting Franz Conrad in the car, they were slow on pit road, though.
Very, very slow. That was really surprising. But I think the biggest surprise of all is Tom Christensen. Now look at this. Contact with the Cadillac, and look at the side of the Audi.
Well, they believe he's okay, Rick, but that really comes down to when they came into the pit lane. Ronaldo Capello wasn't sure the pit lane was open, so he delayed. Frank Biela jumped inside of him, essentially took the lead under a yellow, which is really a bit of a question mark with the rules, but essentially got track position, went out, and then Christensen, trying to make some ground up, had the incident with the Cadillac. So that little move into pit lane may cost them the victory here this afternoon.
Here's the battle again for 3rd place. You see Panos once again locked up with Champion. We learned that Champion made a major tactical error. They decided to start the race on a fairly light tank because they were jumped by the torque of the Panos. They weren't able to take advantage of running the car with lighter weight, so tactically not a good day for them.
Well, they're allowing the guys to race out there, but I think what we're going to see on this final fuel stop is the fact that the Biela car, driven by Pirot right now, the number 2 machine, will stop earlier than Christensen. I think they would with a slightly lighter fuel load on the number 2 car, hence he'll be in the pits earlier. Then when Tom has to pit, he won't be in the pits as long. So they're hoping that that strategy will pay out, and maybe that's why Tom is being so patient right now.
Well, let's show you what's going on in the GT category, the most populated category. 12 GT cars in the field today here at Sears Point. There are the leaders, the 42 machine, one of the factory BMWs, the white car with the blue trim. The 42 car at the moment being steered by Jörg Mueller. In that machine, J.J. Leto started the car. Here's Frederick Ekblom in the 43. They are 1 and 2 in that category. Tom Milner's 2 machines, the 6 and the 10, are right behind in 3rd and 4th. So here's your battle for 2nd in GT.
JJ Leto, currently your car is leading the class, despite the fact that during the last yellow flag pit stops you came out in 4th place because Jarama took on some fresh tyres and a tank full of fuel. Will this get you to the end?
Well, you know, it was just a splash and dash anyway, you know, and that was a good time to do it. But Jörg flat spotted the tires very badly. That's why we had to change them. And, you know, I was a little bit disagreeing, you know, the thing that why we have to change all 4. Why don't we just change the tire, you know, which was badly flat spotted. But he really insisted to have 4 new ones. And, but, you know, he did some brave overtakings and brave brakings, you know. So, you know, it seems to be that everything is going well at the moment. We are leading the race and, you know, he's controlling it pretty well.
Now let's show you what happened to Wayne Taylor's 8th car. Coming off pit road a lap earlier, they had made a tire change. The right front didn't stay on that car, did it, Bill?
Not at all. Thank goodness there's nobody up on the hillside there being a spectator. Here we're on board the Cadillac. This is as Wayne brought it to a halt. He realized the tire decided to go for its own vacation, brought the car to a stop in a fairly safe place like there, and they're able to get it back and now running again.
Well, they've been in the pits 3 times apart from fuel and tyre stops because they're getting through batteries.
Well, Emanuele Prero brings the number 2 machine in. There should be a pretty big fuel load here to go the rest of the way. And this is where we see some strategy playing out. They put a little less fuel in the car on that first pit stop under caution and got Biela out of the car, put Pirro in, gave them track position. It was about 23 seconds of fuel. So when Christensen comes in, we'll do a comparison there. He should have an advantage.
It's Franz Conrad's Celine machine. They were leading GTS earlier. They're back in 11th, 3rd overall. Conrad taking over the chair from Terry Borcheller, who started that machine. And Conrad has been backing up. It looks as though the car is very slow on the racetrack at the moment.
They're jammed in 3rd gear because the entire gear shift lever came out of the transmission tunnel. And they're using some mechanical grips levered onto it. That's what he's changing gear with a toolbox addition.
That is a challenge.
Oh, boy, oh, boy.
Well, Tom Christensen brings it in. We expect about 14 seconds of fuel to go in here. No tire change, of course. Damage to the right side bodywork just behind the right wheel. No damage to the tire. Tom brings it out there. About 15 seconds in fuel. He should maintain the lead when he gets back on track.
Here is the number 2 car. He is still heading down towards the hairpin, so Christensen definitely will retain a good lead.
Now the race in the hands of the number 1 Audi, going for their 14th consecutive ALMS Series win.
Johnny O'Connell brings the leader in GTS in. Now he struggles to get it fired up right now. The thing will not burst into life. Maybe stuck again. Now it goes. Now those are vital seconds. This is going to be very close because the number 4 machine took advantage of an earlier caution period to top up. Now Johnny's still in pit lane as that number 4 car comes through the final hairpin.
Looks like he should make it too, Calvin. I can see them just exiting on the straight. I think Johnny is safely out of the pits.
And we know from what we've seen so far in the first couple of hours of racing, there's the gap now. The 4 car with Kelly Collins at the helm with a shot here. Johnny O'Connell trying to get the 3 up to speed. It's very close, but Collins will be balked a little bit by a couple of those prototypes. That's Dick Barber's 675 category prototype, the 57 car immediately between the 2 Corvettes. Didier Deradiguet is wheeling this 57 car. This is a Reynard chassis machine that began life as a prototype 900, as a big bore car. Barber got the machine over the winter. They decided to put a small motor in it, and they have been the only competition really at 675.
Yeah, it's a stunningly beautiful little car. It's just so pretty to look at, and the engine is a small Judd motor. It sounds wonderful. It goes very, very quickly.
And the champion Audi on pit road to Martin Haven.
5-second fill with fuel. That's how close they are in the splash and dash. Johnny Herbert stalled the engine. These cars have to fire under their own steam, so he can't even get an external battery help. He's still rolling, still trying to refire it.
Looks as though he does have it fired up now, and he accelerates off pit lane. I think you could say that these cars are the epitome of engineering.
They are, and I've said it before too, and I really believe that this just might be one of the most beautiful race cars ever designed.
Well, Calvin, in his piece on the Audis a little earlier, talked about the direct injection they're using on these motors. Now, the champion team doesn't have that yet. They expect to see direct injection in the street car this year.
Yeah, great company.
A way of handling the fuel to the cylinders, very efficient. Team ready to celebrate. Christensen's fist is in the air. The checkered flag is in the air. And Tom Christensen has done it.
Wow.
14 wins in a row for Reinhold Jost's Audi Sport Team. And here comes your GTS winner, the 3 car, the Corvette. Johnny O'Connell from Flowery Branch, Georgia, picks up the checkered flag, teaming with Ron Fellows from Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. Another victory for the Corvette team.
Good job, Ronnie. You got another one under your belt this year.
It's been a big year for the Fellows family. We congratulate. Oh, and a spin, the GT battle between the BMWs, the 6-car, Hans Stuck. Stuckey turns the car around in the final corner. It looks as though Mueller will win the GT battle. Stuck may get second, but no. Dirk Mueller's machine, Frederick Ekblom, in the 43 car now will get by. 42 car, J.J. Lehto started that car. Jörg Mueller will finish 7th overall and cop the class victory in GT for BMWs.
Tom Christensen, your car fell behind during the yellow flag pit stops and you drove it back to a win. How'd you do it?
I thought that the others stopped much shorter, so they got less fuel in. So I was desperate to stay in the tail of Emanuele. And after my coming together with the Cadillac, which is very unfortunate, but it's racing, and I for sure take my kind of blame for it, but I lost the most anyway. But I was able to get back on the tail of Emanuele and stay with him. And I thought he has to stop earlier because of the fuel. So if I can stay there, and we had a good race, good dice, and you can see we are Audi guys, we are racing for the money. And when I could stay out when he dived in, I knew just to put in some very good laps, then the win was possible.
Well, it was Jörg Mueller and J.J. Lehto who came out on top, and really strategy with the tyres there on the final stop. Jörg won you the race, I believe.
Yeah, never change the winning team, thanks to JJ and my team. I mean, we were on a different tire strategy, as you said. We put on new tires, and yeah, the other fucked theirs quite heavily at the beginning, so I could pass them immediately. Also, thanks to my teammate and to the other two BMWs, I never had any problems to pass them. So, fantastic weekend.